So our special guest is here to help all of us create the dream team. The dream team will make New Mexico known as the state of excellence, which is part of our mission here at Quality New Mexico. If you have your program, please turn to page 7 of your program as our next speaker is going to guide us through this concept of creating your dream team. An international conference and corporate speaker, an entrepreneur who successfully launched and led 2 not-for-profit organizations and 2 for-profit organizations, married 25 years to Jody, and has 2, in his words, amazing humans, children. An adventurer at heart, centers his personal and professional life on helping people, teams, organizations unleash greatness, accelerate opportunity, and maximize performance. He pursues his greatest passion, which is helping people unleash their leadership greatness and as a result, leave their mark on the world by serving others. Once again, we see another opportunity for excellence by choice. To help us unleash the epic in ourselves, please welcome my friend and colleague, Jerome Wade of The Epic Advantage.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Kim. Thank you. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Okay, come on. Let's get a little bit rowdy. It's the late day. Let's get rowdy. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Awesome. Well, I'm honored to get to speak into your leadership greatness this afternoon. We're going to have a great time. Now, I'm going to forewarn you. About 2 or 3 days ago, I started getting just the hints of laryngitis. So by the end of this 30-minute presentation, it may be full on. But is that okay? All right, good. Well, I'm going to give you my best anyway. 3 years ago, a woman became very popular. Her name was Sweet Honey Brown. Now, she woke up to find that her apartment, her building, was actually on fire. She thought it was a barbecue outside. She comes outside and she realizes there's something serious going on. Well, the news comes out the very next morning, and she begins to describe her circumstance and her situation and tell them about how everything happened. And she then begins to describe to the news reporter that she's got the bronchitis. And then she says, ain't nobody got time for that. So what I want you to do right now is look across the table, and I want you to tell somebody, ain't nobody got time for that. Now what I want you to do is look at a table across from you and look somebody square in the eye and say, ain't nobody got time for that. I'm excited today to be, oh my goodness, there is a beautiful blonde right back there. Everybody turn your attention right back over there. There is my gorgeous wife of 25 years. Everybody say hi, Jody. I'm going to pay for that one. We're going to talk about how to create a dream team. Now, to get us started, I want you to take a look at this video because this video is going to help prime the pump of what we're going to look at today. Take a look at this.
It's smarter to travel in groups.
Well, I think those are good descriptions of a dream team, wouldn't you? Would you agree? Dream teams are where it's at. I want to talk about 5 of the most common types of teams. Now, I have been in life and leadership development for the last 25 years. I've seen every imaginable kind of team that is on this planet. And here's the 5 that I've kind of synthesized that I've seen through the years. The first one, and by the way, on page 7, you've got some notes there. I want you to follow through with me because I want you to take this home and maybe use it to train your team and have conversations in your organization. But the first team I want to talk about is possibly the worst team you could ever be a part of. That is the destructive team. Now listen to this description. A destructive team is a group of caustic, toxic, havoc-wreaking, venom-spewing, mean-spirited, non-performing, miserable to lead people. On the count of 3, can you say it with me in the tones of Sweet Honey Brown? Ain't nobody got time for that. 1, 2, 3. Some of you right now are thinking that's exactly the team I'm on right now, or that's the team that I'm leading. I remember the old hee-haw way back in the 70s, you know, when the guys got up and they had their quartet and they would sing gloom, despair, agony on me, deep dark depression, excessive misery. You got it? Destructive team. The second one is the dysfunctional team. The dysfunctional team is not quite as bad as the destructive team, but it's still dysfunctional. It's a group of, now don't start nudging somebody, problematic, complicated, low-performing, petty, trouble-obsessed, void of reality, difficult to lead people. Somebody on the count of 3 in Sweet Honey Brown tones say, ain't nobody got time for that. 1, 2, 3. Let me just ask you, is the dream team you have envisioned in your mind the destructive team? No. Is the dream team you have envisioned in your mind the dysfunctional team? Everybody said no. Let's look at this next one. Then this one gets really fun. In fact, I was talking with a gentleman earlier today, and he said, if we could just cut down the drama. I'm talking right now about the drama team. I want you with me, say right now, save the drama for your mama. Let me hear it. Next time somebody brings the drama up in your organization and brings the drama up in your team, this is the quote. You can say, I'm going to quote Jerome. Jerome says, save the drama for your mama. Here's the drama team. It's a group of myopic individuals convinced the universe spins on their axis. Now, don't be pointing any fingers. Clueless that they are clueless that they are the problem, yet continually perpetuating conflict and gossip, causing leaders to go postal. Ain't nobody got time for this. Let's talk about another one. Now, this one's not quite as bad as the other 3, but that's not a dream team to me. The dysfunctional team's not a dream. The destructive team's not a dream. But what about this? This is the decent team. Write this down, the decent team. Now, the decent team is decent, but how many of you men, when you were going out and you were describing your girlfriend, you said, do you have a pretty girlfriend? And you said, well, she's decent. Right? She's decent. You don't go home bragging to mom, well, she's decent. The decent team, though, here's what I have observed is lots of us settle for decent. We want to stay away from drama, and we want to stay away from dysfunction and stay away from the destructive team, but in reality, we're kind of happy with the decent team. But here's the decent team. It's a group of good people that have unknowingly accepted the status quo, who have the potential to be great, but lack the leadership to get them there. Is that the team that you dream of? Well, it might be close, but not really. But here's what I want us to really talk about today, and that's this 5th common team, and it is the dream team, and maybe it's the uncommon team of the 5. It's a group of winning, focused, unified, healthy, mission-driven, excellence-motivated, high-performing, expectation-exceeding contributors who know how to communicate, collaborate, and celebrate, and they are all around fun people to lead. Now, is that the team you dream of? That is the picture of a dream team. It's not a perfect team, but it is the dream team. Now, I've observed a number of different things in our coaching and consultancy that we have, in our corporate training that we do. I've seen a number of these things, but here is what I have identified, that the problem and the solution are one and the same. The problem and the solution are one and the same, and that is this right here. It is leadership. The problem is an issue of leadership. How does a team become destructive? Leadership. How does a team become dysfunctional? Leadership. How does a team become the drama team? Leadership. Or a decent team? Leadership. Or the dream team? Leadership. The problem and the solution are one and the same, and that's what I love about the Quality Initiative, is that it's leadership driven. It requires leaders. If you want to be a or if you want to have dream teams, you must become that dream team leader. Now let's look at the 4 root causes of underperforming or poor performing teams. The first one I want you to see is this. It's what you tolerate. 4 root causes here. The first one is this. It's tolerating poor behavior. Now, a number of years ago, I sat in a round table with leaders from around the nation, and we were having discussions on leadership and challenges, and the speaker that was facilitating that session, he began to describe, now he was a gentleman in his 60s. He had been around for about 40 years of executive leadership. And he says, people ask me, what regrets do I have in my leadership? What regrets do I have in my career? And he goes on to tell a little bit of the story, and he says, but the truth is, he says, the only real regrets I have is what I have tolerated through the years. You see, the reason why destructive teams exist and dysfunctional teams exist and drama teams exist, even decent teams exist, is because we tolerate them. It's because we lower the bars of expectation and we lower the bar of performance and we lower what we believe the team should be performing at. It's a leadership issue. We tolerate poor behavior. Here's another reality, very close. It's the twin sister of tolerating poor behavior, and that is allowing no or low performance. Allowing low or no performance. I sat across the table talking to an executive just a few weeks ago, and he was describing some of the outcomes that he was experiencing from some of his senior leaders. And I just asked him one question. I said, why are you allowing this? And he didn't understand exactly where I was going. I said, why are you allowing this? He said, well, Jerome, it's their behavior. It's not mine. I said, no, it's behavior you're allowing. Why are you allowing this? It's leadership. Leadership is the problem. Leadership is the solution. What are you tolerating? What are you allowing? Now, here's another reality, too, and that is ignoring the truth. Ignoring the truth. Fortunately, years ago, I had an executive leader pour into my life, and he said this, Jerome, facts are always your friends. Never be afraid of the truth. Facts are always your friends. Now, here's the deal. They say the numbers don't lie unless you lied about the numbers. The numbers don't lie unless you lie about the numbers. So always be friends with the facts. When the facts are telling you that you've got a dysfunctional team, or the facts are telling you that you've got a drama team, or you've got a destructive team, then pay attention to the facts, because the facts are trying to reveal something to you so that you can change the game for your organization. Listen to the facts. But we want to have this ostrich syndrome, right, where we just bury our head into the sand and we just ignore what's going on. And that gets us to the 4th one. And that is, the 4th root cause is ignoring the truth. We ignore it. We ignore it. So we have tolerating, we allow, we ignore, and we avoid what we're supposed to be doing. Facts are our friends, so listen to them. Don't ignore the truth. The last one is avoiding leadership responsibility. I've been there. I've done that. Leading from fear, or leading from fatigue, or leading from frustration, and all of a sudden you just begin to avoid your leadership responsibilities. The problem, the solution are one and the same. So let's begin to talk a little bit more now about understanding, because right now I would hope that after you leave this place today, by the way, Jim Collins this morning was off the charts. Basically all I have to say is what he said. But I want you to look at this. Go home and think about this. What am I ignoring? What am I tolerating? What am I allowing? What am I avoiding? So that you can identify the opportunities to create the actual dream team for your organization. Let's talk about the top 4 characteristics of a high-performing dream team. These top 4 characteristics are very important characteristics. The first one is this. The first priority of a top-performing team is to experience uncompromised character. I can't tell you how valuable it was for me to grow up in the home that I grew up with. My mom and my dad were principle-based people. My dad always demonstrated to me what integrity was. My dad always showed me, by example, how to tell the truth, how to speak the truth. My dad showed me how to live an honorable life. And let me tell you, now as I'm approaching 50, I'm 48, and 50 is not that far around the corner, I am so grateful, because that legacy my father has given me, I've been able to pass on to my children. This component here, though, in the workplace, if you want a dream team, it has to be a value of yours that we have uncompromised character. The first job I took in my career, and this was back I was 22 years of age. The first guy was an amazing man of integrity. He led the organization with just impeccable discipline. He was so principle-based. I loved working for him. That was a great opportunity, learned a lot from him. Went to my second opportunity, which was in Oklahoma. Now, this was going to start turning the tide for me because this was where first time in my life I saw leadership integrity being compromised. This gentleman was wanting to do some things good, but there was compromise of character in his leadership, and it was pervasive in the organization. It began to deteriorate the staff. It began to deteriorate and decline the organization because of a lack of character. The third guy I worked for went from the frying pan into the fire, was even worse. So I got a great lesson early on in my career of what integrity is and what integrity isn't. You see, to have that high-performing dream team, you must develop and require and demand and expect uncompromised character. I expect you to tell the truth. I expect you to do what's right. I expect you to be a person of integrity. Now, the second one is this. Write this down. The second characteristic of a high-performing dream team is engaged candor. Now, engaged candor, and these words are carefully selected. Candor is simply telling the truth. Now, we could talk about telling the brutal truth, but what I'd like for you to look at it is this. I want it to be brutal truth, right? I want it to be brutally honest, but just don't tell me in a brutal way. Because I'm a human being, I can't accept it that way. I need the brutal truth, but if you can tell me in a way that's graceful, but yet direct. Not disrespectful or demeaning or degrading. But see, teams that don't have candor, they don't tell the truth. And so when we're actually discussing or arguing or debating on what's the next steps, how do we solve this problem, how do we move forward, you'll find somebody or several people in a team, if it's not a safe environment, who are holding back. They're not saying what they need to say. You want to develop a culture that has engaged candor. So we're all fully engaged in this. Guys, we need to leave it all on the table. This is the place to argue this out, to think it through, to debate this. The third characteristic of a high-performing team is relentless commitment. Relentless meaning you're not giving up. You're not giving in. You're not surrendering. You're not going to walk out on the team. This is a relentless commitment. It's a culture of all in. Just this last week, a gentleman was leading his mastermind group, and one of the participants in his mastermind group was involved, but not as committed as everybody else. I mean, everybody else was cannonball. They were all in. They were giving their best to it, except for this one gentleman. And so he gave him a phone call. He did what leaders do. He led. He said, listen, I just want you to know that the entire mastermind group has upped the ante. We're all even more committed than we've ever been, and here's our expectations of your commitment. And then he said this, and I thought this was brilliant. He says, if the commitment for you doesn't work, that's okay. We realize it's just not a fit for you. What was he telling him? We have expectations of relentless commitment. Now, I want you to write this next one down, and that is this. This is enduring courage. Enduring courage creates that culture of bravery. We're going to go places we've never gone before. We're going to get Star Trek in our team. We're going to do things we've never done before. We're going to have, as Jim Collins says, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And it's not going to be for the faint, and it's not going to be for the weak, and it's not going to be an easy journey. You see, to have courage, and I would say that the hardest component of leadership is the continued courage it requires to lead. You have to make decisions, risky decisions. You have to make moves. You have to do things you've never done before and experience things and take your people where they've never gone. It requires enduring courage. Jim Collins wrote, and this was a number of years ago that his books began to influence my life in leadership. He says, greatness is not primarily a function of circumstance, but rather, and he even said this again this morning, but rather discipline and conscious choice. The problem and the solution are one and the same. It's leadership. It's conscious choice. So we've looked at 4 of the top characteristics of a high-performing dream team. Now in these last few minutes, I want to look at the top 6 behaviors of dream team leadership. Because here's the truth. A dream team can only unleash its full potential with dream team leadership. A dream team can only unleash its potential with dream team leadership. So let's talk about what that looks like. Just like the team, the leader has got to lead with uncompromised character. You are that person who sets the bar of what the expectations are. And here's the truth, and this is a sober reality. You might want to write this as a footnote. You produce what you are. You produce what you are. I sat with a gentleman as he began to tell me about some of the goings-on of his team. He says, Jerome, I know they're lying. I know they're lying. I've seen it face to face. And my question was, well, did you say anything? He said, well, I haven't yet. I said, what are you waiting for? Right? It's an uncomfortable conversation to say, listen, I've observed some things and I've observed some behaviors that we can't allow in this organization, that we can't allow on the team, because what happens is you deteriorate trust. I need to know that when you speak, what you speak is the truth. I need to know that what you do is honest, because it also represents me as a leader in the organization. Uncompromised character. That's what that leader must demonstrate. Secondly, write this down. Not only must he demonstrate that uncompromised character, but he must demonstrate focused clarity. I don't see it advancing here. Okay. Focused clarity. Can you go ahead and just do it for me? Did it lock up? All right, cool. Write it down. Focused clarity. That's even better. Well, maybe not. Focus clarity. Man, Jim talks about the hedgehog principle. Powerful principle. Hedgehogs only know one thing. That is focused clarity. Instead of all of this stuff going on and all of these opportunities that come. And by the way, opportunities, if you're doing a great job, should come to you all the time. But you should be saying no a lot, because your hedgehog cannot be violated. So you want to make sure that you have focused clarity. And when the team knows where you're going, and the team knows why you exist, and the team knows what's going on, then you can see the success that you want and see them become the dream team and have dream team performance. The next one I want you to look at this is disciplined consistency. Disciplined consistency. We don't have changing priorities and we don't have changing directions, that we are very disciplined in what we're doing and we're very consistent in what we are delivering. Bring that consistency to your dream team. If you want that team, your people, to react and act like you want them to, as they should, then show them disciplined consistency. Write this next one down, and this one's very important. This one is intentional care. So a dream team leader is going to bring intentional care. And simply all that says is you must be in touch with your people. You've got to care about them. And by the way, caring beyond just their performance. Caring beyond just their job description. Caring beyond just what they do for you. Care for who they really are. Jim said it this morning so well. He said, make it about them. And he said this: life is people. The revelation of his wife after she experienced cancer. She realized this: you know what? All of this stuff is great, but life is people. A dream team leader is a person who brings intentional care to his team and to his organization. The next one is this. Write this down. Number 5, it is strategic investment. When I go back to when I was working for Superior Pallet Company in Amarillo, Texas, when I was 14 years of age, my boss came out and told me, he said, Jerome, he said, I see something in you. He said, when you work, and I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but I was 14 years of age. I learned this from my mom and dad, by the way. 14 years of age, he said, you do the work of 3 grown men. Scott saw something in me that I didn't even know. I didn't know to recognize. I didn't know to understand it. I couldn't comprehend what he was saying. I was too undeveloped as a leader. But he said, listen, there's something in you. So I remember that strategic investment of Scott Loball. 3 years later, I was going to quit just to go find another job. And Scott came to me. He said, Jerome, I can't lose you. He gave me the highest raise the company had ever given any individual. I was 17 years of age. He saw something in me. That was a strategic investment. I went from there and moved to Oklahoma, where I was working for that leader that I talked to you about. There was another gentleman in the region who saw something in me, and he gave me regional opportunities of leadership. I didn't know what I was doing. I was green and young and undeveloped, but he saw something in me, and he said, Jerome, I want you to take this region, and I want you to own this. And I'm like, wow, somebody believed in me. You see, if you want to bring that dream team quality out of your team, you're going to have to believe in them. Make those strategic investments. I want you to think about right now, who is it on your team or in your organization that needs a strategic investment right now? That needs just that word, I see something in you. What I call in my business, I'm going to call greatness out of you. And that's why I love speaking at conferences and events, because that's what I get to do everywhere I go. I'm just calling greatness out of your organization and calling greatness out of your life. What strategic investment do you need to make in your people? Who needs to hear those things? I see something in you that I've not seen in anybody else. I see this component of greatness, this ability that you've got. Speak into their greatness. Strategic investments. The next one is enduring courage. Just like the dream team has to be courageous and they have to endure, you are the fuel as the leader to lead your team to uncertainty and to lead them through change. So what do we do as leaders? Our job is to lean into our fear. Our job is to lean into opportunities that might even fail so that we can courageously move our organizations forward. Even if we stumble and trip from time to time, let's keep leading with courage. Let me ask you today to think about this. Sir Richard Branson made this statement. He was talking about your team. He says, train your team like they will leave you someday. So what he's saying is equip them to be successful. But I love his second component. He says, treat them so they won't ever have to leave you. Train them like they will leave you, but treat them like they will never leave you. So today, as we wrap this session up, and by the way, it has been my great honor to be able to serve and to speak to you guys and to begin new friendships, and I have old friends here as well. I want to ask you this one question. What is your number one takeaway? What is the number one component from what we've just talked about over the last 30 minutes that we need to consider, that we need to walk away with? What is the number one thing that you need to look at? And I want you to focus, right? Let's just get clear here. Let's narrow this down. There might be 15 things you want to work on, and that's great. But let's talk about the number one thing. Not number 2, number 3, number 4, number 15. What is the number one thing? Because that's the one thing you need to now discipline yourself to do. And I'm going to ask you the second question. How are you going to create your dream team? And by when? When are you going to implement? When are you going to act? When are you going to begin to develop and coach and equip your people to do what they need to do? Awesome. Go and lead your team to greatness and be epic. Thanks, everybody. It's my honor.